So this bike seems to have a bit of a sticky valve. It's got a tapping sound, particularly at lower RPM. I'm pretty sure it's a sticky valve because it was running really rich last time I rode it, like spewing out black smoke and then stalling when it was at operating temperature and wouldn't start again until it cooled down because it was just way too rich. It had a leaking carburetor. So it's all carboned up, it's all full of carbon, the spark plugs were black. So my guess is that that's got onto the exhaust valve and it's making them want to stick a little bit. So I've seen a few things on eBay, and some people use transmission fluid to kind of free up their sticky valves in flathead engines and things. I don't have the luxury of having that direct access to the valve, unless I take the exhaust off, which is a bit of a job on this. So what I'm trying at this stage is just to squirt a little bit of transmission fluid into the spark plug holes, all 4 of them, and then I'm going to crank the engine just for about 30 seconds or a minute, which should help coat the valve and particularly the valve stem, particularly on the exhaust valve, and that will hopefully help lubricate it, break down some of the carbon and help it stop from sticking. So I'll zoom in into the cylinders, the spark plug hole, and then lubricate my syringe, squirt it in there. I've already done that one, so I'll do this one back here. And I'm going to go around to the other side and do those 2 as well, and then I'm going to crank them. So I've poured in or squeezed in the transmission fluid into the spark plug holes. So now I'm going to come along and just crank the engine, again at full throttle. Pull all the plugs out so there'll be very little resistance. And there we go. Hopefully that's coated. So hopefully that's coated them enough. Now I'm going to put the plugs back in and actually run the motor for a little while. I'm also going to put some seafoam into the fuel, and if this doesn't help, then I'm thinking I'll either take the exhaust off and squirt that transmission fluid directly onto what I can see of the exhaust valve, and or put a bit of seafoam in the engine oil. That means I am going to have to change the engine oil sooner than later. Probably should change the engine oil pretty soon, considering I just put transmission fluid into the cylinders. Some of that's just squirted out of the spark plug hole, but most of that is probably going to stay in there and then contaminate the engine oil. It's not a lot. I think I probably put about 30-40 mils in the whole thing, so I'm not too worried about it. But obviously, oil change would be a good thing to do as well. So I've reattached the leads, tightened the plugs down. Zoom in, you can see that. And now we'll fire it up, see if it runs. Running yet. Well, it's not running yet, but it's probably coating the spark plugs in what is left of that transmission fluid, so probably not getting a good spark. Zoom out. You might be able to see some of the smoke coming out the exhaust, but we're not getting ignition. I'd say it's pretty good. The plugs are fouling up, so I'll take them out and clean the plugs, make sure they're dry, and then start it again. Yeah, so if you have a look at that, covered in oil, so we're not getting spark. So I'll dry these off and I'll leave it a little bit longer to sort of let some of that oil come out of those cylinders. It's going to drain into the engine oil, but what can you do? And then I'll fire it up after. Yeah, try it again. So you can see it's pretty smoky, but Well, that doesn't sound very good. So I have an intermittent miss, so I'm going to try and check all sparks. I think I'm getting to good spark on all 4 cylinders. I've got no spark on number 2. So it turns out I've also got a dodgy spark. One plug just doesn't work at all, another plug is very weak spark, and I think I have a slight leak in at least one of my high tension leads. I think number 4 there's a bit of cracking in the rubber. So I'm going to insulate that and get a new set of plugs, and I think that's going to make a world of difference. So there you can see some of that perishing on that rubber boot. So I think I'm losing a little bit of spark through there sometimes. But my plugs are definitely old and tired as well. Be nice to get a new set of coils and leads, but I think a bit of insulation tape and some new plugs. Let's see how we go with that. So I replaced the 4 spark plugs and one of the spark plug caps. And now I have much better spark, and the engine runs quite well. Just did 500 kilometers on it, no dramas, didn't miss a beat. Would I recommend putting transmission fluid in your engine to unstick a valve? Well, I don't think I had a sticky valve to begin with. I think I had a hole in my exhaust that's made it sound like a sticky valve. However, putting the transmission fluid in there and creating all that smoke when I finally ran the engine did identify that there was a hole in the exhaust. And that's what led me to realise that. I patched it up with a bit of just exhaust sealant, and that seems to be doing the job. The noise has gone away. And if you want to put transmission fluid in your engine to loosen up and lubricate the top part, say if you did have a sticky valve, I reckon it probably would work, but you can see what's going to happen. Your plugs end up covered in it, and you're going to clean your plugs and all that kind of carry on. Would I recommend it? No, 50-50, neither here nor there. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it is a mild environmental catastrophe when you finally run the engine with all that smoke. So on, whether it's going to unstick a sticky valve, I think it could help. Unless it's sticking because it's slightly bent, it's not going to help with that. Only if it's carbon build-up, and it would release some of the carbon. So yeah, I hope this video helps, or at least it's entertaining.